95.7 The Game.
All right, Warriors General Manager Mike Dunleavy talked to the media an hour ago. We carried it here on 95.7 The Game. He addressed just about every subject. I don't know that he said a lot definitively. He said a lot, but it's just tough to make out the direction of this team from what he said, because I'm not sure the Warriors know right now either. I mean, the one thing he said was, we just got to get better. And then when he got more specific, he said, well, we got to get better defensively. Okay? Then why would you bring Klay Thompson back? If one of your big emphasis points is getting better defensively, then...
Well, that hasn't happened yet, though, partner.
What?
And Klay coming back.
But all I'm saying
would
is,
tell me actions speak louder than words.
No
so
doubt.
All of us, I wanted to hear, but that ain't what. Even if you thought you heard what you wanted, the proof's going to be in the pudding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's one thing to say you want Klay back, and it's one thing to say we think Klay wants to be here. But when I look at this team, to me, 4 years ago or whatever, before Klay's injury, they had a backcourt of Steph Curry, who 4 years ago had turned himself into a pretty good defender, or at least had become an average defender in the NBA. And if you want to say above average, I'm not going to fight you on it right now. So you had Steph Curry was an average defender, and then you had Klay Thompson, who was elite.
The joke was Klay guarded Curry's man, Steiny.
That wasn't a joke. That was a fact. So, again, it's easy to say, well, these guys are still this, that, and the other thing. But the reality is you have great defensive deficiencies in the backcourt. And Anthony just called in, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with him. If you lose Klay, you lose a shooter. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, my goodness.
But you may upgrade your defense. He can't really guard twos anymore. And so, that's the one thing when we look at this team, how do you go from a team that had a defender in Klay Thompson who could absolutely positively neutralize elite ones in the game, but unfortunately, he's not that player anymore. You just don't get that back.
Right, but you can get it from other places, Steiny.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Klay was a top 5 offensive 2, and he was a top 5 defensive 2. And
Dre was defensive player of the year.
Right. So
those days are gone bye-bye, too.
Okay, so if
it all comes together.
It's all bye-bye, if we understand those days are not coming back, I just don't understand why the reluctance to acknowledge that this team may have reached its ceiling. 888-957-9570. Let's go to who's been waiting a long time. Let's go to Miles. Miles is in Wisconsin. Hey, Miles, how you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Hey.
So I put out a Twitter thread recently, but I was thinking about how the Warriors have been looking for that front court star, and I just had a feeling today that it might be Zion Williamson, because it seems like things with the Pelicans have not been going well because they're in the same situation as we are, except that their stars just can't stay healthy. And we've seen the Pelicans do damage without Zion there more than they do damage with him there. And I feel like a trade with, if you included Wiggins or Kuminga and draft capital, you could get the trade done, and it would be the most realistic way to do that.
With what I got left of my voice, Donnie, I do leave it all out on the field. I would stay away as much as I like Zion, but the other night was the reason I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole and why I was mad. Not that Chris Paul wasn't a baller or the point guard, but his body always let him down at the most inopportune time. Remember, they had the Warriors up 3-2. He got hurt. But I'm going to say this. Steiny, I would not want to sign up for Zion because I believe this. I hope I'm wrong. His body will give out. Something will go awry at the worst time. And we're talking about him being a baby right now. and it just happened. So I don't know if you're different, but I would not want to sign up for those problems.
If I had a chance to get Zion Williamson, I would get Zion Williamson. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And deal with it.
Absolutely. There's just no doubt. And the reason I say that is because the only stars or slash borderline superstars that ever come available are mostly flawed. Like they're just not perfect. Like I guess Jokic is not going to be available. Is Giannis going to be available? Well, let's see if Giannis is going to be available.
He ain't even going to be ready for the start of the series.
But the reality of the situation is when you're like, I remember the one move that turned the Warriors around was when they traded for Baron Davis. Guess what? He had an injury history. He had a reputation issue. But he wanted out of New Orleans. He got here and he played.
Took off.
I was going to say, it's either flaw or a star player asking out. Like Anthony Davis didn't want to be in New Orleans anymore, and the Lakers were able to get him.
Yep.
And Zion, and that's why I do think there is basketball worth watching in the postseason, specifically the first round. There's flameouts. We're going to hear players that are not happy with their situations, and those are the guys that the Warriors would try and get.
Anything on the Clipper roster that would interest you guys?
Do they have anybody under 35?
No.
Well, Paul George, 34.
But he's a young 34.
I mean, I'm not against Paul George, but
he can D up.
What's he going to cost you?
Well,
the other thing is if we're talking about guys like Paul George and Zion Williamson,
because that's all it's got to be. If you guys are talking about not you, like big changes, Steiny, give me some more names. Well, it's going to be guys with that on that number on the birth certificate.
I'm just saying, I'd be very careful. You're going to have to decimate the team.
Wow.
You're going to have to go forward with, Steph, this unnamed player, Draymond, and I don't know who else you're going to have if you go after a guy like that. Omar's in Oakland. What's up, Omar? How you doing, man?
Omar's coming.
Man, I can't complain, man. It's good to hear Guru lost his voice again. I want to say the Warriors need to stop kicking the can down the road, and they need to embrace a full rebuild. Look at the Boston Celtics when they had KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. They went to 2 finals. They went to 4 Eastern Conference finals. They were on the cusp of taking down the Heat with LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh in 2012, up 3-2, and then obviously LeBron went crazy in Game 6. We remember that. But the fact is, it resembles the Warriors situation. Right after that, Ray Allen left and went to Miami. He couldn't start no more. A.B. Bradley took his starting spot. The same thing that happened to Klay Thompson. Paul Pierce, who was the longtime Celtic, is the same situation as Curry. Obviously never won an MVP or finals, 4 finals, but obviously Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer. He ended up getting traded with KG to Brooklyn. And KG, same situation as Draymond Green, all-time great defender, former MVP with Minnesota. And they did that trade, and you see what it netted them, Tatum and Brown in the future. I feel like the Warriors, they're not going to contend, and they're just putting a Band-Aid on it, and none of these players would solve the situation. I think they just got to do right by Klay, Dre, and Steph, and they got to ship them out and get some young core and just rebuild like Oklahoma did, because they're not going to win a championship like this. There's no way they're not even better than teams like Dallas and New Orleans and Sacramento, and those teams are not even contenders. So how are they going to realistically become a contender overnight? I think they just gotta realize the truth and the writing on the wall and just embrace a rebuild.
Well, I'll say this, Steiny. You might come hug me. Evan, stop him if he does. But just hearing you and Evan talk about the flame out and a flawed player, Steiny, for the first time in my life since we've been doing radio, I just thought about Ben Simmons.
Congratulations.
The fit for this team.
I mean, I'm.
But how would that just like? Where would you start with that?
What do you mean? I mean, I liked Ben Simmons 5 years ago.
How hard would it be to pry him away from the Brook?
Probably not very hard.
And I think Andrew Wiggins would fit perfect. But when you guys just said that flawed, I'm thinking and Baron Davis a rebirth.
Well, flawed, not the most flawed player in the league.
A scared dog.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah, Benny. But I don't know why I just thought of him.
I mean, you can't.
I'm desperate.
You can't bring a guy in here who doesn't love the game.
So you'll say that about Ben. I hadn't heard you say that.
Well, I'm just look. I'm realistic about Ben Simmons right now. You could probably go get him, and he might help you a little bit.
Because you got a guy that doesn't love the game.
But the
he would
idea
help
that
you because he's a $40 million expiring.
Well, that's
why he'd help you.
Man.
Not on the court.
Right. And even if he
got out there.
But even if he does help you on the court, he doesn't transform you into something. So does he have some? No, I can't.
Andrew Wiggins, no disrespect, because you play, but the Warriors have already dealt with the guy that, you don't kind of know what's going on a daily basis upstairs. The fire.
I mean, the other thing is you can't bring Ben Simmons in here and Draymond, because then you just have two guys who can't shoot or can't score. And you still have Trace Jackson. I mean,
JFA on the YouTube chat said the same thing. No Simmons and Dre.
MP's in Hayward. What's up, MP? How you doing, man? What do you got for us today?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? So, Guru, you need some Ricola. But what I wanted to say is that speaking of flameouts, all Warriors fans should really be looking at the Cavs series, because they got Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is done with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And another guy that we should be looking at is Karl Anthony Towns. And
I'm in on that.
The second thing is we already sold Jordan Poole at an all-time low, and all we got back was Chris Paul. Now we're trying to get rid of Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins could be a great fourth option on the team, because the guy tries, he can play defense, and his offensive game is actually decent, but he can't be your number two. He could be your number four. So if you have Steph, Karl Anthony Towns, or Donovan Mitchell, or someone like that, now you got Clay as the number three. The whole team comes together, and I think you got to get rid of Jonathan Kuminga, because Kuminga has upside, and we all know about potential. Potential is exactly where you're at, right? And we can't trust the ball in his hands. He looks great against sorry teams. Anytime there's a team with a good defense or like a smart game plan, the guy looks lost, right?
That's
like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah,
so
that's my line.
Yeah. But I wanted to throw that in there, because there's no point in making a bad trade after a bad trade just to get rid of people. We already did that with Jordan Poole. The guy's balling out now, and now we're trying to get rid of Andrew Wiggins, and he's going to be at an all-time low level, right? Like an all-time low value. Why not, get rid of Jonathan Kuminga at a high level and get someone right now? And as far as rebuilding, forget all that. Also, we should go sell out, because we have Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, right? And you probably got two good years left. Sell out for those 2 years, or the rebuild down the road.
Yeah, I'm out.
But Steiny, never go full Jeff again on YouTube. Tell the caller, if you're going to get a number two, you're going to have to trade Wiggins.
Exactly.
Night.
I mean,
yeah.
I think the Warriors would be a lot better if you could just drop Donovan Mitchell onto their team.
I tried to fight you, but man, oh man.
Well,
they need him now more than ever.
Yeah, but
he would be the energizer.
Brandon Ingram, Karl Anthony Towns.
Like we keep
you don't just drop them on the Warriors.
All right, no doubt.
You got to give something up.
But I got to say this to you and Evan and the listeners.
Are people really ready? Go ahead.
No. I watched that game again last night, and I know we keep focusing on the defensive end. Steiny, it was the first time in forever offensively I felt like the Warriors, the gear, the turbo button didn't work. It was like, where is Kevin Durant or a Donovan Mitchell or a Brandon Ingram? They were suffocated. And what have I been saying about young Kuminga? When he goes up against Kuminga, guys that have possessed what he has in regard to the body type and length. Steiny, how many times was he knocked on the ground, no foul? And he can get that better, but you need something now, a guy that you could step back and watch me cook.
Yeah, the more and more I think about it,
I never saw that happening.
I'm absolutely like, what if I told you it's not just you're going to trade Kuminga, it's you're going to have to trade draft picks along with him. And I'm just not I'm just not going to go into next year doing things. You just heard Mike Dunleavy say, and Steve Kerr, it would be a stupid statement to say we're a championship team. Well, to me then, to think you can get back to championship level in one off season with the core you have right now, I guess what I'm saying is I'm thinking damn hard about mortgaging any type of the future. Oh. I'm not, listen, it's bad enough you don't have a pick this year. It's bad enough you don't have a pick this year. And
I thought we got some action with if it's top 4.
You do. Well, but that pick was worth it, though, because you used it to get off of Iguodala.
No, I get that. But
which you used to help win a championship.
But what I'm saying is, if the Golden State, what would their pick be now? They'd probably be like 10. And if you think, like Mike Dunleavy has done a great job, like if the Warriors had the 12th pick in the draft this year, I think you'd feel better about them.
Yeah, but if that future pick could help you get a player in their prime, then in 2032, I would be less inclined to move future capital in a wholesale fashion, but if you only have to move one, that's not a huge asking price for a guy that might be able to help you now.
But like you were talking about, like when the Utah Jazz traded Donovan Mitchell,
yes.
How many picks did the Jazz get?
4 first-rounders and 4 pick swaps.
Right. We and I say we.
And you sent Markkanen.
We can't be doing that.
Okay.
No.
But,
and you sent Markkanen.
Yeah.
The Caps did, yeah.
But what about what you said about them not making the playoffs with this top 4 protected pick?
What about it?
So they do.
They don't have a pick. They got like a 4% chance to get the pick.
You know me. Well, you're right. I got you. But could you imagine if that 4% hit?
Then they have a top 4 pick.
In a draft that they say is not that deep, but man.
Neck deep.
Suge in Fremont. What's up, Suge? How you doing?
I'm doing.
Hey, Suge, I like Suge. Hey.
Hi there. Hello. Are you there?
Yes. Is it me?
Oh, okay. Nice to speak to you all finally. Yesterday I tried, but I couldn't get through because you guys are too popular. I just wanted to ask you, I actually agree with Steiny. We shouldn't really be trying to touch Jonathan Kuminga because there is potential, and even I like Moody a lot. I'm a Moody fan. But my question to you all, is anyone talking about just keeping one older person, namely Stephen Curry, and then don't have Draymond, don't have Wiggins, and try to get and sign and trade Clay and try and get a really good second scorer. I mean, this is how LeBron James operates. He doesn't care about friendship and all those things. He's chasing those rings. And I'm not saying Curry, it's nice that Curry has the loyalty, and he wants his friends with him. But the thing really it boils down to is it his money? It's not. It's the owner's money. Companies do this all the time. Do they keep all the friends together? No. They just lay off people. And that's how businesses work. And I feel like they can convince Curry that they need to put certain other people around him in order for him to have less of a burden and play better. This is something I've been thinking about way back when we were down to game 40 because I knew this is where this was going. But then I tend to be a little bit pessimistic, so I try to keep my mouth shut.
No, we love you, Sug. I just want to say this to you, Sug, and the fans, Donnie. LeBron James and Guru, take your Curry underwear off. I'm being real with what I'm about to say. He's no dummy. He's always had a bona fide Robin. If it wasn't Kyrie, it was Anthony Davis. That goes a hell of a long way. Steph Curry won a chip in 2022. The Warriors did with Robin being on rotation. So all I want to say for the people, and you're right.
It wasn't.
Okay, but
they had Wiggins. You can't. This is kind of what.
But I guess I'm saying, where's that now? Wiggins.
I don't know where it is now.
For 2 years almost.
But this is what I mean.
That affects him too, though.
2 years ago, we had a championship team, and now we're screwing Steph Curry. Like that, it's just such a
I'm
bad
just
way to look at things.
I'm trying to paint the picture of Steiny. Lay off him a little bit because you are right about there's some slippage, but his number 2 just vanished. Like, has anybody ever looked around and said, that's what's killing this? Tuesday night was another. I'm not saying Steph was great. That was Kuminga's not ready. There's not an Anthony Davis outlet for Steph Curry, and when he had one, they won a chip. So I'm just going to fight to the end of time. He's not Larry Holmes. He's not old. He needs help.
He's not old.
But no,
he's not old.
You know what I mean?
He's 36 years old.
He needs help now.
He
more
had
than
a
ever. That's all I'm saying.
subpar second half of the season.
Second half, right? Gotcha.
Like, I don't even want to get into this, but like, the biggest challenge the Warriors have. It might not. Oh, Steph, what are we doing with Clay?
Yeah.
You know what? That's small potatoes. What are we doing with Wiggins or Kuminga? That's small potatoes. The biggest challenge this team has right now is that Steph Curry is 36 years old, and he's not the player he was 2 or 3 years ago. And now what do you do? Now what do you do?
Steiny, real quick.
Because I'm telling you right now, here's what I would say. Yeah. You can't get a team good enough around him in this short period of time for them to be a champion next year.
Okay.
That's a joke.
But Steiny,
and you know what? And the hard part is maybe Steph's not that player anymore.
I'll give you that all day. The 2 year ago Steph. But he's still damn good. And the rat on the table, he's your best player that you're paying 55 M's next season.
And you can't
he's
win
going nowhere.
Right. So, okay.
But we can't stop operation. Let's try to make the playoffs or find some magic here. He needs help, Steiny, more now than he ever could
Thank you. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
So he needs more help than he's ever needed in his entire career because he's 36. And you're willing to do whatever you can for 1 or 2 years to hell with 2025 through 2030. I'm not there yet.
That's the Lakers model.
Well, the Lakers are different.
Tell me why.
Because the Lakers have a history of signing free agents. That's part of their MO. We don't know that the Warriors can do that. We don't know that the Warriors can get a superstar in here to sign as a free agent after Steph leaves.
But I hear you. I'm not fighting you on he's not getting older. I'm just saying he's still damn good. He's not what he was 2 years ago, but he's still spectacular.
What if Mike Dunleavy came in here and said, you guys, Steph's not good enough anymore to be the best player on a championship team? What if that's the conclusion they're coming to? Then what do? Do you still mortgage everything for Steph? But it's for something you don't believe in?
I would tell you, Steiny, if that's, and I don't believe that, but if that's it, then you're effed.
You are. That's what I'm worried about. Like, Steph is 36. He's declining. I don't believe you can put a championship team around Steph in one off season. How? And you're shedding payroll. You don't have money to go shop for a free agent.